Hey ladies, welcome to the Foundation channel. I am Tanya Cortez, and on this channel I talk about everything foundation and complexion for more mature skin. So hello ladies, I hope everyone is doing amazing. And just to get started, this video is going to be a long video, so hopefully you guys can find something to do while you're just listening to me talk about these wonderful things that I have reviewed this year. So what I decided to do is rate some of the foundations that I, reviewed this year and the ones that I like the most and who I like them for. Okay, so this is for different skin types, not necessarily mine. And my skin type is, if you've never been here before, I have mature skin, of course. I have lots of texture, large pores, fine lines and wrinkles, and all of those kind of things. So if you have, and some raised moles, and just to sidebar that for a minute, to the young lady who recommended that I go to the dermatologist and get some of the moles removed, thank you so much. I failed to say that in my last video, but thank you, because I am gonna go ahead and get an appointment to see if I can get these removed, okay? So thank you so much for your recommendation with that. So what I'm going to do, all these foundations are going to be foundations that look good on texture, look good on pores and fine lines and wrinkles and all of those concerns that you have. I think they look great on that kind of skin, okay, as well as normal to dry skin, okay? If you guys want to see this video, then stay tuned. Roll the credits. All right, so let's get started. So what I'm going to do is rate them from least to best, or best to worst, or whatever the case, okay? Now, this is not everything that I have reviewed this year. This is only the ones that I thought would be the best, okay? So, and then I'll tell you what skin type is for. So I'm going to start with skin tints. And I have 3 skin tints, only 3, that I felt would look good on all of that skin that is a concern, okay? I don't want to keep repeating myself, so that's why I'm just going to tell you it's for that purpose: texture, fine lines, pores, all of that stuff, okay? So these work well on skin types like mine, as well as normal to dry. So the number 3 spot in skin tints is the Fenty, okay? Is the Fenty Eavesdrop skin tint. I think it's nice. I think it has nice coverage. The only reason why I put it in the 3rd spot is because if you have a, sometimes people say they can't find their shade necessarily in that, although it does have limited shades and you're supposed to be able to fit something in between. Some people still say that they can't find a good shade for themselves. So that's the only reason why I put it in number 3, but I do think it's a nice skin tint. It does have some coverage, things like that. So I think this does look good on, those kind of problem skin. The next one, I think you're going to be a little bit surprised, and that is the Ordinary, okay? The Ordinary is technically a pigment, okay? I think that it just, the reason why I like it, okay, is because it just evens you out. It kind of just, kind of puts you together a little bit. Doesn't look like a foundation on you, doesn't look like a skin tint. It actually just evens out your skin. Now, it doesn't do a whole lot of covering of hyperpigmentation. It will cover a little bit. In those kind of cases, you might want to use a color corrector, something like that, just to help you cover more of the pigmentation. But if you have, not a lot of that, I think that you would like it a lot. It is definitely a grocery store kind of foundation, run some errands type of skin tint. That's number 2. Number 3, and I actually wrote some notes here because I wanted to make sure I didn't forget anything. And the number 1 is the YSL New Skin tint. I love this. This is very pretty. It does not oxidize. It covers hyperpigmentation. You can put on 2 layers and it still look like skin. Doesn't accent anything. I think it looks really nice. It's definitely worth a try. Now I'm going to go to the light coverage. So number 3 in the light coverage, that's just going to kind of just give you a sheer coverage, not too buildable, not gonna go too far, but it just, you know, evens you out, looks pretty nice, and still gives you a little coverage. And I think that the number 3 spot is the Tower 28. The Tower 28 didn't work for me very well, but I think it would definitely work with someone who has more of a normal skin type, you know, normal to dry to maybe combination. I can't say that it will work well for you if you have oily skin. Didn't work well for me. I have combination to oily. But I think for normal and dry skin, I think this would absolutely look gorgeous on you. It does cover hyperpigmentation with a couple layers. It does look very natural on the skin. I think you would like this one a lot. So that's Tower 28. The number 2 spot for that is the Double Wear Sheer, the newer one that just came out. That doesn't cover much hyperpigmentation. But if you have not a lot of that, then I think it'd be perfect for you. It, you know, and I really, really did like it, but I don't want to have to go through a whole bunch of color correcting just to put on a very sheer foundation. For that, I might as well go ahead and put on something with a little bit more coverage. You know what I'm saying? So this is great if you don't have a lot of hyperpigmentation. It also is good though if you are a combination to oily. I thought it worked well for that too, because it's not thick, really thin. So I like this one a lot as well. Number 1 is ColourPop. I love ColourPop, and for the same reason that the Double Wear is nice and sheer and all of those things. Double Wear gives a little bit more coverage than this ColourPop. The ColourPop is around like the ordinary to me. It's more of a like pigment type, but it just gives a little bit more coverage than that. And this is very natural, very just put together type of foundation. You can just run out, that kind of thing. It's if you don't want to do a whole lot. I think it's pretty on the skin. It doesn't accent your pores. It doesn't rest in them. It doesn't look, you know, bad at all. So I do like that one a lot. That's the number 1 on my list for the light coverage. For the medium to full coverage, I didn't want to kind of break it down to medium and then full. These are buildable foundations from medium to full or just full, okay? Just because you have a full coverage foundation doesn't mean that someone that is dry cannot wear it. Doesn't mean that at all. So these are some that are for all skin types, some that are, you know, designated, and I'll tell you which one those are. So number 6 on this list is Lawless, okay? This is one that we just recently tried. I think this is nice. It is considered a full coverage. I kept looking at it as a skin tint, but it is a full coverage foundation. I don't feel like it's a full like a Charlotte Tilbury type full or a Double Wear kind of full. I think it's more of a medium coverage, not necessarily a full, but it does cover hyperpigmentation, and it is light on the skin. One of the problems with this one is it does transfer, okay? So I think all skin types can wear this. If you're a little bit more combination to oily, you may break through on a shine or so, but you know, this is nothing that you can't really touch up and it still look pretty, you know. So this was number 6. Number 5 is one of my favorites, is Urban Decay, the Naked. Full coverage. It is medium to full, but I think that this is full. Even with one pump, I think it covers hyperpigmentation, doesn't rest in my pores. I used to wear this every single day, and I love it. The shine doesn't break through right away. You can get about a good 6 hours, 5 hours or so before you even start to break through a little bit. You know, it just depends, I guess, on what you're doing that day, what climate you're in, whether it's hot, cold, whatever. But this is a nice one, okay? This is definitely a nice one that you should try. Number 4 is, you know, one of my favorite brands, and that's the Dior, and this is the Airbrush Flash Foundation, the one in the can tin. I'm gonna step out on a limb and say that it is great for a combination of oily. However, it will get a little shiny on you after a while, but it's not like a funky shiny. It's just almost like a little radiance, okay? It's like a little radiance, But if you are one of those people who like super mattes, this is not it. This is definitely not it. This does give you a nice natural finish and everything. And I do believe as we get older, sometimes it's not great to have a super matte finish if you have texture in pores and things like that. This looks great on those, okay? And number 3 is Sephora Best Skin Ever. One, it is very affordable. It's very affordable. It does, as all of these, look natural and satin finished and all of that. It didn't give me a shine right away, but you know, if you have combination of oily skin, you might break through on a lot of foundations. It doesn't mean that you won't ever get shiny, but this is great for normal to dry skin. This actually, for dry skin, you might want to just put a little bit more moisturizer than you normally would, because this is a little drying. It's long wearing, but I did notice that it was a tad bit drying, and it does cling to dry spots. So if you have some, you know, maybe a dry spot or like an eczema patch or something like that, I do believe that it will cling to that. So just make sure you put a little bit more moisturizer than you normally would. I'm not saying slather it up, but maybe just a little bit more than you normally would in case you have some dry spots and things like that. The next one is number 2, and that is the newest one, one of the newest ones I've tried, and that's the Lisa Eldridge foundation. I like that a lot. It did not accent the pores. Actually, I feel like it blurred them very nicely. It wore very nice. It said it's self-setting. I don't feel that it's self-setting to me. I believe that I got oily fairly quickly, maybe in a 3-4 hour period, but the reason why I put it in 2 is because it touches up pretty. It actually even sets pretty with a light powder. So I really like this a lot. I think you guys should try this. You would have to go to her website to get, you can get a sample of this on her website, but I did enjoy it. Number one is the Dior Natural Nude. The reason why I picked this foundation, now I myself, it doesn't work well on me because I have oily skin, combination to oily skin. Didn't work well on me. I started to shine almost immediately. Very radiant, very moisturizing, very pretty foundation though. And that's why I think it would be great for normal to dry skin. You know, even if you're kind of oily, but you don't get too oily, you know, it might work for you. The next category is powder, okay? Powder foundations. I like to think that powder foundations, you can use them as setting powders, depending on what it is that you're setting. If you're using something, like this is my recommendation, and this is what I do. Sometimes I want to wear a sheer foundation that's a little bit more sheer, just a little bit, you know, you just kind of want to look put together, right? And say it's not covering like all of your hyperpigmentation, but it's, you know, covering a lot of it. I like to take a foundation powder and just do a dusting, which will, because it's thicker than an actual setting powder, it'll give you some coverage on that hyperpigmentation without looking cakey and all that. So that is why I like it. And I have 2, okay? This is 2. And the second one that I have is one size. Now let me explain. I know a lot of people do not like this powder foundation. One, because it oxidizes. And it does oxidize, and it oxidizes orange. When I got this foundation, this powdered foundation, I already got it in a shade lighter because I did hear of the oxidized problem that this foundation does give. However, this powder is very thin. It's not a thick, like, how can I say? It's not a thick powder. Okay, it's not like a cakey powder. You can make anything cakey if you keep putting a lot on, right? But I like to use this as a setting powder. I have worn this, you know, all over as a foundation, you know, on its own. But I will tell you the truth. I don't wear powdered foundations by themselves. I just don't. The only time I wear them by themselves is if I conceal color correct, and then I dust that on. But just to wear it on its own, I do not do that, okay? Today, I have on One Size powdered foundation on its own. I just wanted to put this on today because I was talking about it and I was thinking about it. So I said, you know what? Let me just do a quick dusting. I don't have any foundation on, very little concealer, and that's what I have on today. But it is a nice sheer, fine powder. It is not as fine and sheer as like Dior powder, no powder. It's not like that, but it does give you a little bit more coverage. I would say that it's on the line of like a Kosas or something like that, Kosas, okay, but however you pronounce that. I think it's more along the lines of that. But I did notice with this, long as you moisturize your skin very well, it doesn't accent your texture, or it will just a hair, but not really, okay? As long as you moisturize well and then put this on, I found that it does not accent texture, okay? Gotta be careful with powder anyway, because too much powder can accent anything you have there, anything, and that's on anybody, okay? So that is number 2. And the number 1 is Double Wear. I do believe that the Double Wear powder foundation, and that's a strong powder on its own, looks very nice on its own, okay? Now, I have tried this as a setting powder, but you just need to be careful with this one. So I don't use that for that. If I were to wear the powder foundation, I would definitely wear this one alone, you know, and of course do your concealer and all that, you know, your face the way you normally would. But this one on its own is really, really nice. This is a nice powder. I really like this. If you can find your shade, that's the only bad side of this powder foundation, if you can find your shade. Now, if you are dry skin, I don't know that you'll really like this unless you moisturize really heavy before putting this on. If you are oily, this, I think this powder would be very, very good. It keeps you matte for a nice amount of time, okay? Nothing's gonna keep you matte forever, but this does give you a nice long wear before it starts to, your oils and everything start to break through, okay? This actually this powdered foundation, this Double Wear, it looks really good on top of, if you put cream blush on top of it too. It doesn't like separate or blotch up. I don't know if you notice sometimes if you put a cream blush over top of your setting powder, how it'll remove some of the foundation underneath and kind of give you a blotchy kind of look. This doesn't do that. I like this powder foundation. So that is number 1 on the powder foundation side. Now, balms. There are several balms out there, and I have tried about 4 of them. But out of the balms, now let me just say, with balms, they can accent texture because of the thickness of them, because of just how they wear the cream portion of it is just so heavy that it can settle in the pores and give you the polka dot pores or accent the texture. If you don't have a lot of that, but this is the good part about it all, is that it covers hyperpigmentation very, very well. It does not cling to dry spots at all because it is so hydrating and moisturizing. Most balms are, okay? So these are the 2 balms that I found that would look good for normal to dry skin. If you figure out a way to set this so that it doesn't look oily and shiny on you, then by all means go ahead. Doesn't work well for me, but I think this works very well for somebody who would be dry or normal who doesn't have a problem with that. And number 2 is the KVD. Believe it or not, that balm did not work well on me at all, but you guys know why, okay? But at the same time, it still was pretty. You only need a little bit, okay? Because it is like spackled, like to the, I mean, I'm just saying, but with a little bit, it looks really pretty. I have seen it on people who don't have a lot of texture, don't have a lot of pores or any kind of dry spots, that you could think of, and it looked very nice on their skin. I've tried this more than one occasion. I've tried it on camera when we did the review, of course, and then I've tried it outside of the camera just to see if there's a room for error, because I noticed on the video when I did it, I did too much, okay? So when I tried to wear it, when I did wear it outside of the camera, I only used a little bit. I used it with a mattifying primer. I even used it with a mattifying spray. I set it, all of that, and I still got super oily in like an hour. The number one is the Fashion Fair. Now, let me say this. I'm going to decide how I'm going to try to wear this another way, because the finish of this balm is absolutely beautiful. The finish of that balm is so nice. So I wish I could wear it. It says it's for combination to oily skin. I do not believe that. I don't believe that for me. The reason why I put this as number one is for the ladies that have dry skin or normal skin with not a lot of texture. I know I said in this video that I was going to put where all these look texture friendly. This one, you know, in thinking about it, this one right here, if you don't have a lot of texture, or you know, even if you have hyperpigmentation, it's going to cover the hyperpigmentation. It's just, I don't know how it's going to wear on your texture. Now, I have one more category, and that's the worst category. I said I wasn't going to do a best and worst, but this is one category that I felt like I needed to put on here if I was talking about all the best out of the ones that I reviewed this year. So the worst, I have three. Number three is the Derma Blend that I just tried. The Derma Blend, it looks waxy. It does accent your texture. It does settle into lines. It settles in the lines more than I would like it to. It is very full coverage, very, very full coverage. You only need a little bit, okay? But it is very full coverage. If you have dry skin, I don't think you would like that. If you have normal skin, you can kind of just decide, you know. Number two is Black Opal. The Black Opal foundation, like I hated that foundation. Like it was the worst for me. It was the worst. I mean, I can't say it's the worst of all time, but it was not a good foundation for texture at all. You know, not for texture, not for pores. I don't even like the finish of the foundation. I don't even like the way it sits on the skin. It just sits on top. It doesn't like go inside your skin and kind of melt in and look natural. I don't think that I would like this on any skin type. It's affordable. It's affordable, but I honestly believe that you get what you pay for with this one. It does not, I mean, it just doesn't look nice to me at all. Like, I threw this away right after the video that I did because I knew that I would never wear this. So that is number two. The number one worst foundation that I reviewed is the Morphe foundation. And that I'm only giving it number one because I broke out horribly with it. That's the only reason why I'm giving it number one. I can't say that it doesn't look nice on the skin. I can't say that. I can't say that. It does look pretty. Looks a little oily to me. Looks a little oily. Kind of sits on top of the skin a little bit to me. If you have sensitive skin, you might want to consider doing a spot test and trying it before you use it all over your face. I don't have sensitive skin at all, so I don't know if it's an ingredient I'm allergic to or whatever the case, but it did not work well for me at all. So that's what made my number one worst foundation for this year. There's a lot of other bad ones, but this one is just for this year. So guys, this is my foundations that I feel were some of the best ones this year for texture, oil, pores, that kind of thing. So I am going to do one for powders and one for concealers to kind of roll us out for the end of the year. So I hope you guys love this video. Let me know what you guys think about the picks that I have here. Tell me which ones you don't agree with or which ones you think are better for your texture if you have any, or which ones you think should have made the list, okay? But thank you guys so much for watching, and remember, it all starts with the base. You guys stay safe. Bye.